Welcome to our series B2B Bites, where we learn more about the exciting world of B2B e-commerce. I'm your host, Lance Owide, General Manager of B2B at BigCommerce. Our guest today is Nicole Donnelly, who is the founder of DMG Digital, a digital marketing agency serving B2B manufacturers. Nicole provides marketing and e-commerce readiness consulting for manufacturers to help them improve their online presence and start selling. Nicole also runs a fantastic weekly webinar that you all should check out. There are some fantastic insights in there. Today, we're going to be discussing transformation, a topic that has manufacturers, distributors, anyone in B2B quivering in their boots. It is a scary topic, but we're learning from a master. So thank you for joining us today, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, transformation, you're absolutely right. Usually, whenever people hear that word, it's triggering, right? Like, oh my gosh, dread. And a lot of times in organizations, right, it's usually passed down from on high, like, okay, we're going to do this new, we're adopting this new, whatever technology it might be. And people are like, what's happening? How come I wasn't consulted? What's going on? But yes, digital transformation is hard. It's difficult. It's challenging. And I found from my experience, I want to use a case study of a client of mine that went through digital transformation. And from my experience going through these projects, I found that there's 5 phases of change that people go through whenever they go through digital transformation. The first phase is resistance. The second phase is acceptance and excitement. The third phase is frustration and overwhelm. The fourth phase is adoption. And the last phase is the holy grail where we all want to be and live and do. And that's the integration phase, right? That's where we want that's when, the store is massively performant, everyone's adopted and they're all happy and singing la-di-da, and it's become part of how they do business. So these 5 phases. So that resistance phase is so challenging sometimes, right? Because when you're going through transformation, it's new, it's different. There's actually something that's called the uncertainty bias, which basically says that, very well studied by psychologists, that anytime someone's faced with something new or even ambiguous, the natural human reaction is to respond with negativity. It's actually human nature to resist change. So knowing this, I think, helps to realize that when we are feeling that resistance, it's actually a step forward in the transformation journey in that process. And that it's really important for us to just acknowledge that and get through it. But one of the things I found that really helps to break down the resistance is making sure that you take the time to listen and include everyone who's involved in that transformation in the process very early on. So, this is doing a needs assessment and really taking the time to talk to your sales team, your operations team, your finance team, and really listen to them and understand specifically what are their fears. What are they worried about with this transformation? What are the challenges that they're having in their job? And how are they concerned with, what this is going to bring to them? Really take the time to validate them and hear them out and listen, and then ask them for their input. Include them in the transformation process. So if you're looking to do an e-commerce transformation, ask them, what do you think this is going to take for it to be successful? How would this help you in your position? How would we need to set this up so that you're going to be successful in your role, and include them in that process? And by including them, they feel like they have some ownership over the process, and they're going to be much more invested in the outcome, and it can help break down those walls of resistance. And when we've done this before, one of the things we found that really helped is asking the question, what's going right? What's going right with the customer experience? What's going right in the purchasing experience? And that when we've done that, we're able to find this thread of tradition, this core theme that everyone seems to share, that you can use to ground your people through transformation. So we did this for one of our clients, US Air Filtration, and asked that question, what's going right, from customers and from employees. And what they told us was that they loved the relationship they had with their sales rep. That was what they valued most in their purchasing experience. So that became the thread of tradition. How can we position e-commerce to support and elevate that sales rep relationship? Then the sales reps are happy. They're like, oh, good, this isn't going to compete with me. This is going to help me. I'm going to be elevated now to serve in a more consultative role rather than having to kind of take these repeat orders over and over again. But the second thing that we learned by doing this needs assessment and really listening to customers is that they really wanted the convenience of being able to order online. And the majority of them reported that this was something that they wanted. And so data can be very, very helpful when you're going through transformation to say, hey, look, this is what our customers are telling us. We're here to serve them. We need to be able to create an experience that meets them where they are. So once you kind of break down those walls of resistance that way, then you move on to the excitement phase, which is where everyone has very high expectations and everyone's really juiced up and excited about what this new technology can bring to the business. And it's really important during this phase that you kind of temper those expectations and galvanize the team and make sure that you set them up to take a crawl, walk, run approach rather than trying to eat the whole elephant all at once. So at a minimum, if you're a B2B business, at a minimum, just simply setting up your product catalog online and digitizing your product catalog is a great way to start. And then as you start to see the results of that and that success that you're having there, you can build on that success and add in some additional functionality, configuration capabilities, and other things down the line. But because of how overwhelming it can be, it's so important that you take that crawl, walk, run approach and kind of temper those expectations. And then make sure you take time to celebrate the wins. And then when you move into the third phase, the frustration phase, this is when everybody's upset and angry and it's not working the way they thought it would in discovery and things crop up that you weren't expecting. But there's things that we can do to reduce that frustration. And that is just making sure that you're getting education and training on e-commerce and understanding exactly the different terminology, how to set up a sales adoption plan, how to set up your product data. And the more that you understand and are trained on these things, the more educated you'll be to make good decisions as you're going through that transformation. And then you move into the adoption phase, and this is where the rubber meets the road. And it's really important during this phase that you have trainings, on-demand training library that can help you with short clips on how to use the store and making sure that your frontline employees are getting trained on how to use it so that their customers are getting trained on how to use it. And that adoption is so important that you have a feedback loop, that your team can regularly report back on feedback they're getting from customers, that they can share back with you on a regular basis so that you can continue to improve that customer experience and also improve how capable and competent your sales team and your frontline employees and your ops team are in using the platform. So, and then you make it hopefully to the integration phase where it's just like how we do business and then it's all happy and hunky-dory. So I think the as you move through those phases, I think it's so important that you think about how important it is to respect that tradition that your company was built on, and as much as possible hold on to that, because that's something familiar that can ground your team through the transformation process, and really positioning e-commerce as a way to elevate your sales team rather than to compete with your sales team is so important. And don't forget to invest in training. The more that you know about e-commerce and how it works, the more successful that your store is going to be and the more performant it will be in the long run.
I love that. Find the tradition, hold on to it, and continue to hold on to it, even though you're transforming your business digitally and moving online. Which of those stages is the most fraught, the most difficult, where you'll have the most pushback from teams in your experience? Because I think those stages perfectly capture exactly how our manufacturers experience a digital transformation. I think they go through all of those stages. But where do you think you feel the most friction and the most pushback? Which is the toughest stage?
I would say the resistance phase is the most challenging, just in terms of trying to get buy-in from everyone. And this can sometimes feel like the Berlin Wall, and it takes decades of Cold War strategy just to get through. Like it takes a lot of time and work, because doing that listening and really trying to understand, you're not just doing this for one person. You have to get buy-in from many people across the organization for everyone to get, on board. So I think the resistance phase is the most challenging. It's also the foundation of where everything happens is making sure you understand the business requirements and you're, set up for success there. So I would say that phase, but it'd probably be a very close tie with the frustration phase, because that phase is very painful. And whenever I'm in it, I'm like, can I just push the fast forward button and let's just move past this and skip down the yellow brick road and have rainbows and butterflies. Let's just get there.
That's what I was wondering. Is it the frustration or the resistance that the hardest? But I think your point there is really important. If you don't lay the right foundations, if you don't get folks on the bus with you from the beginning, then that poor foundation that you built for this project, the real issues are going to start to arise in those later phases. So you've got to focus in that initial phase, building the right foundation, getting folks on board, aligned, is really, really important. Nicole, this was a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I know all of our listeners will have benefited massively from it. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lance. It's been my pleasure.